What do you do if your child is trans? How do you know if they really are transgender? Just because they feel they are the opposite sex, should you support them or kick them to the curb and do everything in your power to avoid them from exploring who they really want to be? Well, if you want to support them, here is 3 steps to deal with it. Hey, what's going on? And welcome back to another video. If you are new here, welcome. It's your girl, Naiah Nikole. There is a huge debate going on between people who are transgender and people who do not want to accept that transgender people are part of society and want to shut down anyone from transitioning or be respected socially by being against calling a transgender she or him. Although there is many people who don't understand why transgender people feel the necessity to transition to their opposite birth sex, it happens. How do you know if your kid is trans? You see, as a child, kids show tendencies and interests. These interests could be liking gender-associated colors like pink for girls or blue for boys. Or they might want to play with trucks and dirt versus dolls and play dress up and makeup. Does that make you trans? No. If we push a child to play with only gender-appropriate toys, scold them every time they act too feminine or too masculine, will that prevent them from being trans? No. How do we avoid or prevent someone to be trans or become trans? You can't. My firm belief is that as a parent, your job is to keep your child safe from vital harm and provide a loving environment for them. What do you do when your child is showing signs of transgenderism? Step 1, you keep them safe while allowing them to explore who they are. If your child wants to dress like a boy or a girl, you have to explain to them that people might not be very nice to them because they want to dress up as the opposite sex. It is very important to prepare yourself and the child for the bullying that is inevitably going to happen if you allow them to dress up as the opposite sex. But let them. How could this vitally harm them? How long could this phase last anyway? I know there's a lot of you out there that dressed up in girls' clothes as a child and y'all grew out of it, didn't y'all? I know I've heard of a lot of guys that have dressed up and they didn't turn out gay, bi, or trans. So what if it isn't a phase though? If they have been presenting as the opposite sex from a young age, after all, they want to continue to transition visually, you could let them cut or grow their hair. And after a year or 2 or 5, they still want to be addressed as the opposite sex. What do? You move on to step 2. You seek help from doctors. You get them psychological help to find out the root and reason of why they want to be the opposite sex. It could be a hormonal imbalance or other physical conditions causing this behavior. I have seen cases where a child was being abused and they wanted to get rid of every feminine trait to avoid it happening again, to then transition to a boy, live most of their young life that way, to then detransition because they never really had gender dysphoria. I don't think giving your child hormonal medications before the age of 16 is okay. If your teen has been presenting as the opposite sex most of their young life, then reach a point where they want to continue their transition, then with the help of their psychologist and general doctor, and of course, your consent, you can move on to step 3. You can make the decision to let them medically start transition or decide enough is enough and disown them and never talk to them again. I mean, at the age of 16, if you don't support their decision to get on hormones, they can always emancipate and make that decision for themselves. But it's also going to create a very hostile environment for you and the child. Is that really the relationship you really really want to have with your child. I never started hormones before the age of 18, although I contemplated ending my life because I didn't get the support that I needed. It was not because I was transgender that I wanted to end it all. It was the mistreatment and getting in trouble constantly that made me feel depressed and sad. Overall, I had a great life and great parents, especially my mom. She was an amazing mother and raised me well to have almost anything I ever wanted financially. She provided a safe space for me to grow up, but I was not allowed to be feminine. I was shameful of who I was. I know that I wish I could have had a better relationship with her. How could I sit and be open with my family when I got made fun of outside of the house? And then at home, I would get scolded some more and told if I just acted more masculine that I wouldn't get bullied. It is a hard life to grow up without being able to explore who you are as a child, as a teen. Dream of the day you can actually run away or be old enough to move out. When you grow up in that environment, that's what you think about. So you can actually be allowed to be who you are. My advice for a parent with a kid showing signs of being a little different or showing tendencies that are not normal for their gender or sex is to lean close and provide an open, safe space where your child can be comfortable with sharing who they really feel they are and be allowed to explore who they are with your support. Do you feel like as a child, your parents gave you the open space to be who you wanted to be? Do you think that if your parents would have been more supportive of you exploring your femininity or your masculinity, that you would have ended up being bi, gay, or trans? Well, as always, I love hearing from you, so send me some love in the comments. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe and to turn on your notifications. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.